All right. Welcome to Dirt Diamond Sports, guys. I'm Ryan Bokros. I'm here with my man Wally. We're here again on a Monday morning. Talk some Astros, talk some MLB. Wally, how was your weekend, my brother?
It was good, especially since the Astros captured a game at the end. The only thing wrong with the weekend is I was that dude who stayed up Saturday night and watched the end of that game, thinking I was going to get to bed at 11:30, and
Oh, man.
it didn't. Did
No,
you watch? Did you watch that game, the
I
Saturday night
did.
game?
I did. And I attempted to stay up all the way to the end. And to be honest with you, I sat up. I was watching the game. I was kind of excited there. And then, of course, we all had those, oh God moments
Yep.
and just everything that kind of transpired there. And I have to say, my faith faltered a little bit, and I decided to go ahead and start getting ready for bed. I moved from the TV to the phone while I was getting myself ready for bed, and so I witnessed the fall via my phone as I was kind of just climbing into bed. So it was not the best way to call it a night.
Yeah, for anybody who didn't watch the game, Espada threw everything he had at Seattle. Literally every pitcher was used.
Yep.
Um, you know, Abreu was okay. He threw the wild pitch in the eighth, which Caratini did everything he could to block the thing, but it took a funny hop. And in the ninth inning, Dylan Moore, who's never even gotten a contact off of Hader, does a check swing. It hits
What was that?
It hit the butt of his bat.
Gosh.
It hit the butt of his bat. Everybody kind of went crazy. Moore was right in front of everybody. So I wonder what would have happened. And so Hader finally figured out and threw it to first base and got an out. Raleigh was the only guy that really understood what was going on and broke for home. Hader didn't field it clean. I wonder if Hader would have fielded clean, thrown to Caratini, and Dylan Moore is in the way. What would that call have been?
I mean, there might have been two outs there at home.
I would think so.
There might have been two outs there at home because you could have had interference, and then at the same time, you tag the runner coming.
Well,
So,
you tag both of them too.
well,
Because
yeah, if you tag both of them, or either way, I feel like it could have been a double play there. You could have avoided tragedy.
yeah, well, and as it is, when Neris came in, I was like, oh boy, it's Hector's had his years.
Yeah.
Hector is, Hector's your fifth, sixth reliever right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of the guy you bring in, and it just was.
Yeah. Well, let's back up and talk about game one. Even though that wasn't much better, not much of a better game to talk about.
Let's talk about game two.
Right. Yeah, maybe we don't need to talk about game one. I feel like just a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about the woes of Lance McCullers and what does this team do with our beloved bury me in the H Lance McCullers. I mean, gosh, where'd my notes go? 2 2/3 innings, 5 hits allowed, 4 runs, 3 walks, only 1 strikeout. This is not the Lance McCullers that we had seen on the road so far to this point. And 2, this is the Lance McCullers we've seen in his last 3 to 4 outings. Are you concerned that this is the Lance McCullers that we're going to be stuck with potentially for the rest of the season? Or is this maybe a Lance McCullers that is kind of just hit a bump in the road?
I think to the answer to your first question, they are stuck with it just because they
Yeah.
don't have arms. They don't have arms.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to do kind of a tandem look to him. And we talked about that before, where you've got Lance and you've got another pitcher coming out on a real short leash. I'm going to call it Ryan Gusto. It could be any number of guys, but Gusto gives you enough length to where you won't eat the bullpen. your decision, if they make the playoffs, comes to a Justin Verlander decision last year, to where they just sat Verlander down and said, "Dude, you're just not good enough."
Yeah, we just can't have it.
The good news is the Astros are 4 games ahead. You're seeing guys on the farm who's, granted it gets against minor league pitchers, or players, but in particular, Spencer Arrighetti looked really good.
Yes.
Christian Javier looked pretty good.
Yes.
Louis Garcia seems to look okay. And did you see how Louis Garcia's, they changed his delivery a little bit?
I sent you that video, and we kind of were throwing that around, and I was throwing that around with a few other guys, and maybe we can get there a little bit more detail. But yeah, it looks like he's short arming it, just a little bit different throwing motion than in the past. But
should give him a little run on the ball.
Potential. Yeah, that would be nice. That'd be nice.
But the question.
So what about so we stranded 15 runners on Monday, Wally.
On Friday,
I'm sorry, on Friday. What did I say? On Monday in the first game. We stranded 15 runners. So we have.
On Tuesday, we've got our pitching woes. Tuesday. We stranded them on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Game 2. You got me going now.
And game 2, yeah. But but on Friday, because we're leading with Lance McCullers' issue there, but. Was the issue really just Lance McCullers in a bad outing, or we've talked about the issues with pitching, and we're bouncing around because we've got notes all over the place. But this is maybe we're just going to have an ADHD moment here on Dirt Diamond Sports Talk.
Yeah,
we stranded 15 runners on Friday, so we were talking about the issues with the pitching, but the injuries to this lineup and to this roster, it's. You can say, man, we're having an issue with offense, but if you got 15 guys on base, is that really a massive issue with offense, or is it just kind of going back to the last few years where the Astros have had issues with runners in scoring position or just leaving guys on base? We can get on base. Why aren't we scoring the runs?
Yeah. Well, to back up to Friday night was Brandon Walters' night. He pitched great. Nothing wrong with him. Saturday night, McCullers, we had 15, but
Friday night.
He was Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was Saturday. But when you look at where we were on Saturday, we were 6 for 18 with runners in scoring position. So we had guys on. We left 15 on. You leave some of them on in the extra innings. But the thing with the Astros, when you look at that game on Saturday night, guess how many extra base hits they had? 1.
I don't have it in front of me. Yeah.
They had 1. Altuve hit a double. And that's kind of a microcosm of the Astros season this year. Their average is 258, something like that, second in the league, or second in baseball. But the issue with them is their slug is way down. Their power is way down. They're not hitting near as many doubles in particular. And so they're not moving guys along from first to third or first to home and getting that extra run. It's having to be a hit here, a hit there. Jordan's not here. Christian Walker's just now starting to hit. He's hitting 327. He's hitting 327 with a slash line. Thanks to Jeremy Branham for putting that up on Twitter that I was able to pick that up today. But Walker's starting to hit, and that home run he hit yesterday was a rocket. They're still waiting for Diaz to hit, and until Diaz learns to control the strike zone and swinging at things, or just in this county, would be great. Caratini's been fantastic, but everybody's
been ridiculous.
But everybody's hitting singles, and you can't make them try to hit home runs. But you'd hope that when Jordan comes back, it becomes infectious.
I agree. All right. So what about last night?
Fun game.
Yeah.
Fun game. See, here's the difference between as far as the number of hits, we had 12 hits on Tuesday, or you got me going, Saturday, and we had 13 hits on Sunday. The difference is you have 6 extra base hits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your
Mm-hmm.
OPS on Sunday is 932. Your OPS on Saturday is 685. Now, you're in Seattle. It's tougher to do, but you got production from guys like Trammell, 3 for 4. Uh, you had
What
Jarrett
about
Tenney,
Trammell,
3.
man?
Yeah,
Trammell had a
he had a night, and that relay that he and Dubon had, that was great.
yes, beautiful.
That was great. I mean, they just stomped them like a grape. That's what you like
Yep.
to see.
I can say that I think going into Seattle, Castillo always has the Astros
Yeah, he
number,
does.
and
He
and
does.
and he's amazing. And back when he was a free agent, he was one of those guys that I wish the Astros would have at least given a hard look at. But going into the series, honestly, Wu was probably the guy that I had figured the Astros were least likely to touch up, and especially considering the guys in this lineup, um, they got to Wu pretty hard, and it was really kind of nice to see. Did you notice anything maybe that the guys were doing specifically well or different in their approach at the plate, or maybe it was something that Wu just wasn't executing on that the guys capitalized on?
I thought Wu was leaving more pitches over the plate, didn't you?
Yeah, it seemed as though things were running back in on him instead of hanging out towards the edge of the zone like he normally does.
Yeah, early in the game, he struck somebody out on a ball that started off the plate and then ran about 4 inches in. I think in the first inning, I was like, God, if he's going to do that, he's got no hit stuff like he did a few weeks ago against the Yankees.
Yeah,
Um,
because
but yeah,
I mean
yeah,
that Christian Walker home run, uh, coming out of his hand, that ball looked like it was nowhere going to be close to the zone, and that thing just rode right back into the heart of
oh yeah,
the zone, and Christian just redlined that thing
oh he
and
knocked
blew
that
it
in the
out of
next
here.
week.
Yeah.
Best thing about that home run, he's hit a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and Christian's been eaten up by fastballs.
Yep.
So I was like you though. Wu, if there was one guy on that team I would love to have, I think Wu's great.
Yep. Yep.
Hunter did what Hunter's been doing. He's still inefficient. I'm wondering, I need to go back and look at it some more. But Hunter looks like he's throwing and not pitching.
Yeah, and that's where when we're talking about some of the pitching woes, I feel as though that's something that, with all the injuries and with, I guess, you could say, lack of offense or lack of scoring runs with runners in scoring position or just leaving guys stranded. I feel as though a lot of the conversation, and I tweeted this over the weekend, is I feel a lot of the conversations being missed. Um, when it comes to the pitching woes, and you look at the last 10 games prior to yesterday, the Astros had given up 55 runs in 10 games, going back to the last couple of games against the Dodgers.
Yeah,
And despite the offense and the injuries and running out, 2/3 of this lineup as what we like to call 4A guys, um, the this pitching staff, with its injuries as well, right? It's had its own issues there. Doesn't seem to be executing as well as they had been first half of the season. And I think you said it pretty well there. And one example of that is, Hunter. It looks as though he's just throwing and not pitching. Like there's an issue with execution. Maybe there's an issue with, um, I don't know, you want to call it ego, and I've just kind of got this down, and I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to throw instead of really think about it because I've got this, and things have been working for me. And so maybe a little bit of lackadaisical execution on some of these guys' parts, or are they a little gassed because they've been asked to do a lot over the first half of the season already, Wally?
it could be any one of those things. Hunter, we've talked a bunch of times that Hunter has not thrown over 65% strikes in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 starts. But to your point, where the pitcher's been, it's really been over the last month.
Mm-hmm.
They've given up 104 earned runs since the Angels series. And when you start with the Angels series, taking out the Philly series, which they're really good with a third a run with a .33 ERA, and the Dodgers series with a .220 ERA, your ERAs have been 6, 5 and a third, 5 and a fifth, close to 6.5, 4 and a third, and the one last against the Mariners close to 4 2/3. So it happened all at once, and you're right on. I think they need to get the Arrighettis of the world's back. I think again, as we've talked about the AAA hitters, but we've asked pitchers to come up and do things they've never done, and how long can they do it? Brandon Walter is the one guy of the three, and I'm talking Gordon, Gusto, and Walter, who really looks like he's the one. I think when Arrighetti comes back, I think Gordon goes down. I think Gusto's showing that he's got some flexibility, and he can pop in and out of the rotation and the bullpen.
Yep. I agree, and we're going to get to hot stove later, and I think that some of those guys' names have been thrown around about where if the Astros have a little bit of confidence in a few of these guys that are coming back, then maybe a few of these guys that have performed fairly well over the first half of the season might end up becoming trade capital, because the Astros might need to make some moves. So,
yeah,
we had another injury over the weekend to this team, pretty significant one. Paredes going down with what we know to be, I guess, a hamstring strain. He hit the 15-day IL, right? 15-day. They put him on the 15-day, or was it 10? Yeah, 15.
He goes
10-day IL or 10.
He goes 10 days because pitchers go on the 15.
Sorry, 15. Yeah, so 10-day IL for Paredes, but it's a hamstring. We've seen this happen. We dealt with this with our previous third baseman.
Yeah, I think you're talking Labor Day before he's back.
I fear the same. What does this team do? We talk about injury woes. Maybe we just roll into Astros potential trade issues here, because we've got a week, let's just call it.
Yeah.
10 days before the trade deadline. This team is on the struggle bus right now, with a lot of question marks when it comes to a few of these key position players, and not knowing who, when, and where. Filling these holes, we're literally running out of bodies.
Yeah.
On the field.
And you're pretty much out of bodies on AAA that you could even think could come up.
Yes.
Ryan McMahon's name always comes up. Left-handed third baseman, hitting .217 for the Rockies. His numbers have declined, but you kind of wonder. I wonder with McMahon is how much of his lack of production or decline in production comes because he just is around a losing atmosphere. His name has been brought up with the Yankees. The Yankees need a third baseman. I'm not sure, as far as players, the Yankees have as many players to offer as the Astros do. The guys that the Rockies would want, the Spencer Joneses of the world, they're not. They're just going to spit on it. Pena has got to be coming back soon, so that'll help him move stuff around. They say, you hear Dana's looking for a left-handed bat, but I don't see a lot of left-handed bats out there that are going to be available. As far as trade capital, or trade pieces, I've heard Seth Lugo's name come out. Well, Seth Lugo's not going to be cheap. Now, do you take Seth Lugo and spin it for Colton Gordon and a piece? That would be, Gordon is a nice pitcher. I don't know how much upside he has.
Right. Well, I mean, and with everything that's gone on from a position player standpoint, I think that's the big question there is, what do the Astros do? With the question marks of who's coming back and when, do you expense that capital to go and pick up a left-handed bat, position player, and what happens if or when, these guys start coming back.
Yeah.
Then you traded capital. You run some of your guys. You spent the money. You spent the capital to go fill a position that now you've got an overabundance of or whatever. So I think Dana would have to end up being really strategic in these moves, and a move, if it's going to be a move or multiple moves, and making sure that whoever it is that he's going to go out and bring in or try to fill any of these potential positions with is somebody that can be versatile. Because with as many question marks as you've got coming, you've got to be able to make sure that if Paredes doesn't come back, then you've got a guy that you can hang at third. If Trammell doesn't continue to produce and do what he's doing, then you've got a guy that can fill in and left and move somebody to center, or you've got somebody that can play center. What about short? If Pena doesn't come back, or Pena comes back and 2 weeks later he, re-injures, or, there's so many potential issues here. I feel like you can't go out there and you can't handcuff yourself by saying, we're going to go out and just grab a third baseman, or we're going to go out and just grab a left fielder, right?
Dana's going to earn his money.
Oh yeah.
Dana's going to earn his money big time. And, if you get one of these guys, Pena's got to be coming back soon. I mean, Don was over at the house. We have a mutual friend who we went to the baseball game with, who's a former college catcher. And, we were joking around about when he was playing. It said nothing short of a note from your corner, and you were in that game.
Pretty much.
And you wonder what's keeping Pena. It's a pain management thing. When Pena comes back, a lot of the dominoes start to fit into place. That means Debon can move around and do what Debon does best. You'd expect him to play third, but who looked good on Saturday night, and hadn't played it hardly at all, was Bryce Matthews. He made a couple of really nice plays at third base.
Yeah. Yep. The kid is an athlete. Absolutely. The kid is an athlete. John Singleton got called up.
John Singleton got called up.
No options. So he's here, or he'll end up not being here.
Hey, every game he's here is another day of service time.
It's I like John. His wife is a little off the
she's very present in social media.
She is. She's a little off the chain sometimes.
She supports her man.
She loves her man and supports her man. I don't know what bringing John up does for this team, other than keeping the bench warm and give you another potential left-hand bat that gives you, a hit 1 out of every 15 or 20 at bats.
Well, I think it points to how few options they really have left.
It really does. It really does. When you've got Christian Walker playing first base and you have to bring John Singleton up from AAA, it really does. I think it's a glaring issue for this team, and it really speaks to where they are right now as far as bodies.
The only thing I can see is he wants to give Walker a day off his feet. You can put Singleton at first base.
Yeah, and that's fine, right? And by doing that, you put a lefty in the lineup, and that might help you out depending on who's pitching, who you're going up against that day.
Yeah,
I'm not against it. I think John can help this team from time to time. He's not a needle moving piece for this team by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. All right. What about the Astros' upcoming work to do? We've got a series coming up against Arizona.
Gordon against Zach Gallen tonight. We've got Fromber against Eduardo Rodriguez tomorrow. Rodriguez is having a bad season. Gallen's not been great, but he's been better the last 2 or 3 starts. And then you've got Brandon Walter against Brandon Fatt, who's been good record, high ERA. It's a critical series for the Diamondbacks because they got to decide if they're buyers or sellers. The Astros could have a real benefit on this if they can take 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks. That'll put the Diamondbacks clearly into seller mentality. I mean, worst comes to worst, if they think that Paredes is out and they've got enough package, they can get Geno Suarez as a trade bait. He's not picked into the Astros, but if they think Paredes' hammy is really bad, I mean, Suarez is Paredes kind of 2.0.
Yep, I think so. And then after Arizona, we go take on the A's again, which
at home.
Yep. That's to the benefit of the Astros, even though the A's always like to give us a rough go.
Yeah, they give us fits.
They like to play us tough.
But it's a series that if you think you're going to win the division, you win.
You have to. You have to go in and win that series.
It's 4-gamer. You take 3 out of 4 and move on.
Yes, you have to. You have to go and do that. All right. Around the league, what did you notice? What have you seen around the league that's gone on that has caught your eye?
2 things. The top teams that we've been giving all kinds of kudos are struggled. The Dodgers just finished up a 10-game losing streak. They think they won 2 out of 3 this weekend, but they're still in a situation where they've taken a division was well in hand, and San Diego's 3.5 out now. Detroit lost 6-7 in a row, and they finally won last night against the Rangers. Thank you. And the Astros have had their struggles. But who's on the other side that's really been on a heater? The Milwaukee Brewers. And Ryan and I were talking before the show that the Brewers are the Astros' brother in the National League, because they're a team that you'd wonder how they do it every year, but they're always there. They've got a great manager like the Astros do. Pat Murphy, who was Craig Counsell's bench coach before Counsell went to the Cubs, but also was Counsell's head coach when Counsell was at Notre Dame. He is a real old school guy. He's not afraid to call out his players. He insists on the fundamentals. He brought him in, they said on MLB Network Radio one time, and he really read him the riot act because they weren't doing fundamentals early in the season. And it's paid off. They get steady production up and down the lineup. They've got Christian Yelich, who is still around and doing good things. No one really exceeding expectations, but a lot of guys that are just steady. And they got strong pitching. Freddie Peralta has 12 wins. They just like the Astros, they let Devin Williams go, and Trevor McGill is got 23 saves and one of the best relievers in the National League. So, they're there, and they're a great story, and they're tied with the Cubs.
Yep. They can't win in the postseason.
That's right. That's the only difference. It's the only difference between them and the Astros.
They can't win in the postseason. Hey, how about the Chicago White Sox? Their first season series sweep against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Well, do you grade that on the curve since they beat the Pirates?
Hey, this is the White Sox we're talking about.
If there was ever a team, they just need to blow up the whole organization. Them and the Yankees.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I have a feeling that the potential sale, I guess, that is on the table, has it been approved? I haven't heard anything lately, but I haven't heard anything lately. I think it's going to be good for baseball and good for the White Sox. We'll see. We'll see. But yes, that team, that organization, it's been the armpit of baseball for just so long, and it's been sad because, man, you look back at some of the history of the South Side of Chicago, and there were some monster teams that came out of the South Side of Chicago, and some iconic players that resided there. But man, these last 2 decades for that team has been just brutal.
Yeah, we used to joke around the Cubs as anybody can have a bad century.
Right. It's just true. It's true.
Pirates are another team that's just
It's
dreadful.
true.
And
Yeah.
one thing, as we wind down is that
Which is really sad because talk about one of the most beautiful ballparks in the
oh,
entire league.
have you been there?
Yes. Yeah. My
That's
my 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 mother's side of the family. Well, I guess my father's side of the family too, to a certain extent. We're they're all from up there, Pittsburgh area, just outside of Pittsburgh. I was born in Johnstown, which is a city just outside of.
the Chandler Rome just put something up on the Athletic about what Singleton's role would be.
Okay.
Maybe we can put it out there. I didn't chance to look at it yet. The Pirates as a team that also needs to be blown up. And I guess the last thing when we start talk about around the league, Yankees are still 3.5 out.
Mm-hmm.
When do the Yankees completely gut their front office? Because you've got, I mean, we seems like we talk about it every week.
Yep.
Every year, the Yankees look and they have all this money and they've spent this almost dead money on guys like Stanton. Not that Stanton's not giving it his best, but he's a lot of money for a guy that just doesn't do very much. And
Yep.
he hits the ball, and boy, when he hits it, look out. But it's a poorly constructed lineup. I mean, give him credit for biting the bullet and dumping DJ LeMahieu. But they're 3.5 out. When you look at the lineup there's Judge. You've got Judge who plays great. Goldschmidt is a really good player, but he's on the downside of his career. Moved Chisholm back to second, which they should have done a long time ago. They got Peraza that can't play third. Volpe's not developed. Bellinger's a decent center fielder, but he's nothing special. And then Jason Dominguez can't catch a cold in left field.
Yep. I don't know what their home versus away record is, but I saw somebody post the other day as if there's a team with the greatest home field advantage, it's the Yankees, and I think that that's probably exposed because if I remember the tweet correctly, it said that they're nothing but a 500 team away from
That's
Yankee
exactly
Stadium.
right. 30-19 at home, 25-25 away.
Okay, there you go.
To me, the part of the story we miss is the Blue Jays have played so well. Now the Yankees and Blue Jays have both won 7 of their last 10, so they're getting better. But I just don't trust the Yankees. You're trusting Marcus Stroman to be one of your studs, and Marcus Stroman's Marcus Stroman.
Well, and hey, the Red Sox are knocking at the Yankees' back door right now too.
They are.
So I mean, with all of that said, you've got the Yankees, the Red Sox, and heck, even Tampa Bay all within 3.5 games of each other. So it's it's the AL East. It's always fun to watch the AL East and see what goes on over there. Everybody really loves to pump up those Yankees, but yeah, it's interesting to see. And yeah, bravo to the Blue Jays for playing pretty good ball lately without having to spend Yankee and Boston money.
Well, the money they spent was on Santander. He's on the 60-day. He's been nothing.
Yep. And how about our old friend George Springer still crushing it?
Oh yeah,
He's having a heck of a season coming back.
Yeah, they've had a lot of guys that have had above expectation seasons, which is what a lot of these teams need.
Yep. Well, to wrap up the around the league and maybe kind of just touch on the last little hot stove thing is I read that the Baltimore Orioles have officially stated that they will be sellers at the deadline. Is the Baltimore Orioles potentially the saddest story in baseball?
Boy, I don't know if it's the saddest story, but it's maybe the most surprising story.
Okay.
Jim Bowden likes to talk on the front office show on Sunday mornings. He said, you've got to be able to spend their capital to get what they need. They have made some trades that have not worked out. Taylor Rogers was doing better this year, but he was terrible last year, and they gave up Kyle Stowers to get him. Elias.
I mean, this is a team that everybody expected to be Astros 2.0, right?
That's right.
And it has just not metastasized.
No, it's not. It's not materialized at all. they don't have any pitching. They tried to put it together and chew with chewing gum and baling wire, bringing Charlie Morton in, and Charlie in his wheelchair in, and he started off poorly. He's been better, but there's when you look at a really great team, let's put the Astros on there, and I'm gonna throw Hunter out. When people come in and you see Fromber coming out and pitching game one, it's like, okay, this is a dude. He's going to give me 7 innings. He's going to be around the plate. He's going to be finally what we were hoping Fromber would be. You look at some of the other teams. I mean, the Dodgers. You get pitchers coming in. You get Yamamoto, and you think that with Glasnow when he's healthy, they got guys who can come in and can shove. That they don't have it. They don't have it. That people get out of the bus swinging against Baltimore.
I feel as though the Baltimore farm system was wildly overrated.
Yeah,
there was so much expectations because Adley Rutschman came up and was a star, and so everybody else that was in the Orioles farm system that was anything even remotely close to what Rutschman was when he was in the minors were going to end up coming up and being stars, and this Orioles team was going to end up being like the Astros, where you just have all of these stars that show up as pre-arb guys and they just take the league by storm. And like you said, it's just never materialized. It's never come together. I don't know if that's just an overrated thing that all of these prospectus guys screwed up. Is it Elias? Was it there's a ton of talent on that team and they just didn't have personnel development and player development that didn't make these guys turn out to be what they should have been? I mean, obviously there's a ton of moving pieces when it comes to the way that a team works, but it really seemed as though that team had all of the components put together to really be the Astros 2.0 and to have fallen off the face of the planet like they have. Just really surprising, and to hear that they're going to be sellers at the deadline. I threw this one in. This wasn't even on our notes necessarily, but it just kind of came up because it just was really surprising to me to hear that. And it's that's what I said. I think it's a sad story because I think 5 years ago the expectation for this Orioles team was extremely high.
Well, they're selling expiring contracts, what they should do.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
What I have never understood is why Gunnar Henderson isn't playing third, why Jackson Holliday isn't playing second.
Yes.
Jordan Westberg is playing, or Jackson Holliday isn't playing shortstop, and Jordan Westberg isn't playing second.
Right.
You'll never get me to believe that, and I'm not the only person that said that.
Yes.
But, it's like once Henderson was there and he was there first, it's like he's the shortstop. I'm not going to move him off because he has seniority. That's garbage. They haven't won anything yet. Once you win, and you might have some pub to be able to say, I'm going to stay here.
Yep. Well, any final thoughts then, moving on into the week, Wally?
I'll just hope the Astros start getting people back. I haven't heard anything about Pena coming back, but he's got to be coming back soon because he was hurt 2 weeks before the All-Star game, and we're getting to 2 weeks after. So you're starting to work 3.5 weeks on Pena. He needs to come back.
Yep.
But just win series. I mean, you just win with who you got.
Yep. Yeah, I think that as Astros fans, now is not the time to panic. I think going into Seattle and seeing where they are head to head with this Astros team, and knowing with the roster and the lineup, the way that it's constructed right now for this team, and the way it is, what we kind of what we did, the on paper outcome wasn't great. But I think when you look at the nuance of what happened in Seattle, it's not near as catastrophic as I think the on paper outcome makes it look like. And so I think
they won.
As Astros fans, it's not time to panic necessarily. Let's be patient. Let's keep winning against teams like Arizona and Oakland, Sacramento. I don't know, what do we call them? The A's. Let's keep winning against teams like that. Let's get these guys healthy. And I'm definitely not
Nah, I think we're all right.
Good deal. Well, for my man Wally, I'm Ryan. This is another edition of Dirt Diamond Sports Talk, and until next time, we'll see you guys later. Go Stros.
Go Stros. All right.